So thank you for being here. We have some important developments in this case that we want to share with our community. I wish we were here to tell you that we have found Madeline, but we have not found her. Last night, detectives from the Kissimmee Police Department met with Madeline's mother, and they had to tell her the very devastating news that although we have not found Madeline, we are now confident that she is dead. So our efforts will be focused on recovering Madeline. Dozens and dozens of detectives, crime analysts, and specialized team members have been working nonstop and following up on every single lead and every shred of evidence. Our detectives have determined that Madeline was never dropped off on the morning of February 26th near her school. Instead, we believe she was already dead at the time and that Stephen Stearns moved her body in the early morning hours on that day.
All right, there's my mistake right there. That Stephen Stearns moved her body in the early morning hours. So with my brain, I filled in the blanks that he moved her body. Where did he move? He had to move it to the car, right? Where else would he have moved it to?
Right.
Let me just replay that because it is a little bit confusing.
Determined that Madeline was never dropped off on the morning of February 26th near her school. Instead, we believe she was already dead at the time and that Stephen Stearns moved her body in the early morning hours on that day. We have video evidence that shows Stephen Stearns discarding items in a dumpster in that apartment complex in Kissimmee at 7:35 on Monday, February 26. Detectives later recovered Madeline's backpack and her school-issued laptop from that dumpster. At 8:19, we have evidence that shows Stephen Stearns returning to the complex and Madeline was visible in that vehicle. We believe she was already dead at that time. As a result of that, although the initial missing persons investigation started in Orange County, the Kissimmee Police Department will now be taking over the investigation and will become the lead agency. And of course, the Orange County Sheriff's Office, all of our support personnel.
So that's where the confusion lies. And I apologize. I was confused by that. They didn't say, they believe he moved. It wasn't caught on video, apparently. So that's where I made a mistake. They believe her body was moved during the early morning hours, but he had to move it into the car.
Right.
And then he was seen coming back with her into the complex later on. I forget the exact time he just said. And they believed she was dead.
8:20, by 8:19, 8:20, he came back to the complex. Yeah.
And just so everyone knows, this video that we all sort of, and myself included, went right over our head was March 14th. So he gave us a lot of information that people were asking questions about months later, and he told us this on March 14th. So, I mean, it's a little bit confusing when you don't have all the boxes filled in. It gets a little bit confusing when you're missing part of I'm not making excuses. Maybe I am making excuses for myself, but I made a mistake and I'll freely admit to it. But so we had that information on as early as March 14th. And I want to play a little bit of this because some of the local TV stations gave us a lot of this information as all of this discovery information also came out, which was eye-opening to many.
Has obtained new audio and documents in the case against accused child rapist and killer Stephen Stearns. He was arrested in the days following the disappearance of his girlfriend's daughter, Madeline Soto.
Question News investigative reporter Greg Fox is going through the evidence. Greg, Stearns appears fairly calm throughout this recording.
And there may be two explanations for that. Number one, at the moment, he may be thinking detectives have no real evidence against him. Or number two, He says several times in the interview that he's been taking a lot of medication to control anxiety. What he didn't know then is that detectives had already been zeroing in on him as the prime suspect.
And she wanted to be dropped off a little down the ways from the school.
You're listening to Stephen Stearns' voice as he was being interviewed by detectives on February 27th, one day after 13-year-old Madeline Soto disappeared. Stearns, the boyfriend of Maddie's mother, was supposed to drop her off at Hunters Creek Middle School, but said she wanted to be dropped off a couple of blocks away.
She's got this phase that she's been into lately where she's very particular about what car she's seen getting out of in front of the school. She said she was going to go wait for her friends. She was going to find them and hang out and wait for her friends.
But Maddie never arrived at school. Video evidence would later, allegedly, show Stearns discarding items that included Maddie's backpack and laptop computer in a dumpster at the family's Kissimmee apartment complex. And detectives later obtained security camera images that appear to show Maddie was already dead inside the car. During the recorded interview, Stearns expressed sadness at Maddie's disappearance.
At that point, my brain was mush, and I was on so many tranquilizers to keep me stable. It's just.
Do you usually take that, or?
Yeah, I have a prescription. I haven't needed it in a long time, though. But
what's that for?
Anxiety.
But in the same interview, he said neither he nor Maddie's mother were out searching the night she disappeared. And he gave this explanation about why most of the information on his phone was deleted.
I don't know what the heck I did, but somehow during the massive OS update, I managed to factory reset my phone and lose all of my contacts, all my information.
Investigators would later retrieve images from the phone that prompted the initial charges against Stearns of sexual battery on a child under 12. Strangely, he had this concluding comment to detectives.
I don't know where my head was yesterday. It was so far up my backside.
That's the interview.